Join me in welcoming His Excellency Dr. Ismaila, ceesay, Honorable Minister of the Commission of the Republic of the Gambia, to deliver the statement of His Excellency Mr. Dawda A. Jallow, Attorney General and Minister of Justice of the Republic of the Gambia, and to declare the 83rd Ordinary Session of the African Commission officially open. The floor is now yours, Your Excellency. Thank you.
Your Excellency, Chairperson of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, esteemed commissioners, honorable ministers and secretaries of state, distinguished representatives of member states, honorable members of the diplomatic and consular corps, respected delegates from national and international human rights institutions, esteemed members of civil society, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of His Excellency President Adama Barrow, the President of the Republic of the Gambia, government and the peoples of our nation, it is with great honor that I extend a very warm welcome to all participants of this significant session of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. Hosting this session in Banjul reaffirms the Gambia's unwavering commitment to promoting and protecting human rights across our continent. We are privileged to provide a platform for critical discussions and decisions to advance the rights and freedom of all African people. This gathering brings together diverse stakeholders, governments, civil society, human rights organizations, national human rights commissions, human rights defenders, and international partners, each playing a vital role in our collective mission for advancing human rights in our continent. Your presence here underscores our shared responsibility in upholding the principles enshrined under the Universal Declaration on Human Rights and the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as we mark the 83rd session, it is evident that we are living in a tumultuous world, characterized by international wars and widespread violence across the continent, leading to mass displacement of citizens, as well as the traumatic effects of sexual and gender-based violence against women and children. The situation of the globe today amounts to a threat to international stability. The international rule of law, as well as the collective values that we shared after the Second World War, as enshrined under the 8th UDHR in 1948. Today, the threat to human dignity, life, property, and humanity is manifested all over the globe. We therefore, as a people, need to recommit ourselves to the protection and preservation of the sanctity of life and the dignity of the human person. The Universal Declaration on Human Rights unequivocally proclaims that all men are born free and equal. It is indeed high time we revert our minds back to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and why it was created. As a milestone document, it demands that we resist the globalized, transnational, and localized attacks against our rights and people's rights. The African Commission on Human and People's Rights and the African Court on Human and People's Rights have all contributed to a more robust human rights framework. However, the enforcement of these rights and the level of protection vary across the continent, with persistent challenges in areas like democracy, governance, and the rights of marginalized groups, such as migrants, stateless persons, refugees, and internally displaced persons. Most importantly, the African Court on Human and People's Rights has taken positive actions in promoting and protecting human rights in Africa. It has issued landmark rulings on issues like women's rights and the rights of the child, influencing legal and societal norms. The court has also held corporations accountable for human rights violations, expanding the scope of human rights accountability. Furthermore, it has helped to raise awareness about human rights issues and promote a culture of respect for human dignity. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, fighting corruption and impunity in society and within the state is vital, as in equal vein is the respect for democratic norms and processes. Corruption significantly undermines human rights by creating conditions that allow or exacerbate violations impacting a wide range of rights, particularly those related to social, economic, and political participation. Corruption diverts public resources, undermines institutions, erodes trust in governance, and severely hampers the realization of economic, social, and cultural rights. Corruption should not be seen only as a financial crime. It is one that affects the very fabric of our society, including women and children, migrants and refugees, as well as marginalized and vulnerable groups in our society. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, let me also take this opportunity to compliment the initiative behind the African Continental Free Trade, which is one of the flagship projects of Agenda 2063, and a landmark initiative aimed at creating a single market for goods and services across the African continent. It seeks to promote inter-African trade by eliminating tariffs on most goods, facilitating the movement of capital and people, fostering economic integration, and enhancing competitiveness. Thus, the vision of the AFCFTA is to create a single liberalized market for goods and services, facilitated by the movement of persons to deepen the economic integration of the African continent. Coming to the African Union theme for this year, slavery and the slave trade, including the transatlantic slave trade, were appalling tragedies in the history of humanity, not only because of their abhorrent barbarism, but also in terms of their magnitude. As crimes against humanity, they are therefore among the major sources and manifestations of racism, racial discrimination, xenophobia, and related intolerance that seriously affect the lives of Africans and the people of African descent. It is therefore fitting and widely recognized that Africans and people of African descent are entitled to reparations. Evidence abounds on precedents of reparations granted for past abuses. It is significant to the present generation of Africans that the issue is brought to remedy historical injustices. The theme, justice for Africans and people of African descent through reparations, is of absolute relevance. We must, however, be cautious as the issue is complex and costly. We need to be very comprehensive as well as calculative in terms of what we want, bearing in mind that reparations involve more than just financial compensation. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this year's theme on reparation is indeed very timely. Reparation, as we know, comes in many forms. And applying reparations at home, the government of the Gambia has initiated its reparations process. We passed the Victims Reparations Act 2023, which establishes a framework for and administer the reparations process. This includes receiving and processing claims from victims, determining eligibility for reparations, and overseeing the disbursement of funds and other forms of support. The commission is headed by 7 commissioners and an executive secretary who is responsible for the day-to-day administration and financial management of the commission. The act in its totality underscores the government's commitment to acknowledging the suffering of victims and survivors in taking concrete steps towards ensuring closure for victims. Civil society organizations and human rights defenders have played a critical role in the Gambia's human rights advancements. Their advocacy and engagement have been vital in promoting transparency, accountability, and citizen participation in governance. While significant progress has been made, the Gambia continues to face challenges in fully realizing human rights for all citizens. Issues such as gender-based violence and the need for comprehensive legal reforms remain areas requiring ongoing attention and action. The government of the Gambia recognizes that the values of human protection, promotion, and fulfillment are essential pillars for the achievement of our much cherished development. We must therefore vigorously guard these values zealously. In the same way, create the necessary space and environment for human rights defenders to operate. No longer should we sit idly while they continue to be targeted with violence and assassinations as they continue on their duties. We must never relent in pursuing their assailants for justice. To those who oppress them, I say loudly, stop your cowardly acts. And remember, you can never escape justice in this day, in this era. As we commence our deliberations, let us be guided by a spirit of collaboration and a steadfast dedication to justice, equality, and human dignity. May our discussions be fruitful and lead to actionable outcomes that will positively impact the lives of individuals across the African continent. In this spirit, I hereby declare the 83rd session officially open and wish you all productive and insightful engagements. Thank you.